What's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Worms with Rick. This is the natural bedding bin, and it's been 2 weeks since we've been in here last, so see how everything's looking. Couple worms right here. Look at this little guy. So that's always a nice sight to see in a worm bin. There's another couple small ones right there. So happy to see that. Another little guy there. Whole bunch of little ones there. Cool. Very happy to say it. Very happy. Well, we'll see what's going on in the old feeding area. Okay, well, no food scraps. Lots of broken down leaves. And what I'm going to do to make my life a little easier is I'm just going to flip this bin. As I've kind of said before, I like to get all the way down to the bottom because sometimes the castings pack in down at the very bottom. Okay, so we got a nice little pocket for the feeding. So I use this bin as basically like a natural bedding bin. So I have a different style leaves for this today. Some pine needles. I have 6 or 7 pine trees in the backyard. They drop their leaves. I add it to my compost. I add it to my garden beds and even to the worm bin. So I think they're going to like that and the feeding that I have to give to them. I guess first thing right on top, I'm going to add a little bit of the coffee grounds from the K-cups. Then I have some watermelon rind. I have a banana, and I will rip into this peel a little, so give the worms a good access point. I have some lettuce and celery and cucumber. I have some more lettuce, well, a lettuce mix that has carrots and cabbage in there. And then finally, this is something that I've wanted to add for a little while. I started growing comfrey about a season ago, and one of the plants was huge, so I chopped off a bunch of leaves, put them in the freezer. There's like a stem of the comfrey. So giving these guys some comfrey to see how and if they like that. So definitely a very nice feeding. On top of the feeding area, I'm going to go ahead and add my ground up eggshells. Ground up eggshells are a good grit source for the worms. Not necessary. However, I go ahead and eat a bunch of eggs over the weekend, so I microwave them, grind them up, and then I can add it into my worm bin. The worms, as they squirm around, they take small bites of the eggshell and the food scraps, and as they wiggle, that helps to break down and digest their food. Also, to make the calcium bioavailable for the garden, it ends up needing to be processed, and the best way to process it is with the worms. They eat it multiple times, and as they poop it out, it goes through their digestive system to really give a boost to the castings and the vermicompost that then can be added out to the garden. Also, another thing with pine straw, when pine needles are on the tree, they are acidic. When they're brown and dried up and drop off, they're no longer acidic. I actually did a soil sample out underneath my pine trees, and it's neutral. And those pine trees have been there for like 35 years. So the pine needles are not acidic once they're brown and once they've dropped. On the tree, yes, they are acidic. As always, I'm going to go ahead and cover the food scraps with some castings. Typically, once I've gone ahead and added the food scraps to the freezer and then covered them with castings, I typically don't see the flying insects and things like fungus gnats and fruit flies and stuff like that. My one bin downstairs, I think I introduced some flies with some of the garden scraps that I didn't go ahead and freeze because I just kind of ran out of time. So I am in the process of trying to fix that bin, but this one here doesn't have any type of flying critters, so that's a good thing. I do have tons of little roly-polies that are in here, but they're great for shredding leaves and making things smaller for the worms to eventually process. On top of the feeding zone, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of my worm chow. That is available for the worms right away, and that consists of expired oats, flour, cornmeal, and a little bit of pulverized eggshell. I try not to go too crazy feeding the dry worm chow because this has a chance to actually absorb some moisture, and then you can get some lumping. This I just use as a little amendment for the worms as the other food scraps are breaking down and the biology from the bin starts breaking down those food scraps, then the worms can really get after them. But until then, this gives the worms a little bit of food to kind of nibble on, waiting for the food scraps underneath to start breaking down. Well, I really appreciate all the subscribers and the questions. If you guys have any other questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so you can check out the other bins that I have. Thanks for coming along, checking out the video. Everybody have a great day.